Waterwight, Book 1, Chapter 16. You said you'd be back soon. What took you so long? Blanche interrogated Celeste on the porch when she returned. I had to make sure your brother understood how to work with Orville, and then he introduced me to Teresa. I don't think she knew I was here this morning when I came down. Celeste wondered if Blanche had witnessed the unexpected embrace. Don't waste your time with her, Blanche shot back. She's good for one thing, gardening, and there's others who could take her place if they had to. Hey, that's not very nice. Just because she can't talk or see or hear like us doesn't mean she's not a person like you and me. Celeste was appalled by Blanche's callousness and let her anger flare. Yeah, I'm new here and you're in charge and we're all scared of what's happened since the shaking, but you don't have to be so mean, especially to people who can't defend themselves. Even your brother says you're mean and he's the sweetest boy I've ever met. Celeste immediately regretted her last words. Blanche straightened her back, momentarily speechless, and Celeste could tell she wasn't used to being challenged. The door opened and a lovely doe-eyed girl of about 11 stepped onto the porch. We're ready, Blanche. The girl observed Blanche's demeanor and then the newcomers, and in an alarmed voice said, Should I signal the overleader? No, Maddie, that won't be necessary. You can take Paloma to the great room now. Everything's fine. We'll continue this later, she whispered to Celeste before returning to the house. And you just better hope that bug-eyed beast of yours doesn't do anything wrong today. Celeste would apologize for bringing Chimney into the discussion. It was a low blow, but Blanche's vindictiveness was misplaced and very mean. Hi, Maddie. Celeste turned to the waiting girl. She would ask later what an overleader was. Sorry to keep everyone waiting, but I was visiting with Teresa. Oh, how lucky! Maddie, visibly disturbed by the tense moment she had interrupted, was surprised. We kids aren't allowed to go near her. What do you mean? People are afraid what happened to her might happen to the younger ones. They call it something like contagious? Celeste finished for her. Yes, that's it. That's why we're not supposed to go near her. Only Chimney can, because he's a food bringer, too. And who says she's contagious? Celeste felt heat rising in her face. Blanche and the other house representatives. We should probably go to the great room. They're all excited to meet you. You're the first newcomer in many, many moons, you know. Celeste was about to explode. She wanted to run after Blanche, grab her, fly her over the stinking water, and drop her in. After years of feeling and acting like a captive machine at the children's home, her emotions in this new land were let loose. She'd need to control them. She took a deep breath. I'm excited to meet them too. She lay her hand gently on Maddie's shoulder. What was that? Maddie jumped. Celeste wanted to deny it, but she felt it too. It was as if Maddie's energy had merged with her own during the touch. It was like an electrical current had zapped between them. I don't know, probably some strange thing in the atmosphere. Celeste wondered how many of the others had powers they weren't aware of yet. I guess. Maddie shivered and frowned. So many weird things are happening since this past moon. Here we are. She opened the door to the great room, and Celeste could see a small group of children seated quietly in a circle on the floor. Lena offered a shy little wave, and Celeste was surprised to see she had a twin, identical in all but the tiny red birthmark the other had in the center of her forehead. You've met Lena already, Maddie pointed to the girl. And I met Jack last night. He took Orville to the safe yard last night. Did someone help you with that gate, Jack? It's really heavy. Nope, I did it all by myself. Jack flexed his skinny little arms and everyone laughed. Then you just need to meet Lena's sister, Katie, and my cousin Ryder. He was visiting when the shaking happened. She whispered the last part. I guess you all know my name by now, Celeste addressed the group cheerfully. And your frog's name is Orville. Little Katie piped in. Is he squirmy? She scrunched up her nose. No, he's not squirmy at all, Celeste assured her. He can hop really far and he can fly even farther. He's an amphibian. Who knows what that is? We're not supposed to fib, Ryder said, and his smirk indicated he knew he'd made a pun. He looked to be about Chimney's age, but the scratched, black-rimmed glasses made him seem much older. His eyes were larger than any she'd seen, and when he looked at her, Celeste understood he could see more than most. Funny, Ryder. Celeste could tell the boy was happy to be acknowledged. Amphibians are frogs, Katie announced. Amphibians, corrected Ryder. The others practiced saying the word aloud. It was new to them. Some amphibians are a little squirmy, Katie, like salamanders, but they won't hurt you. They're afraid of big people like you, and they'll run away if they see you coming. Celeste hoped her explanation would ease their concerns. I don't like things that squirm up to me, Katie said, scrunching her nose again. Lena mirrored her twin's expression. Have you seen any squirmy things here? Celeste asked the group. Since the event had transformed Orville, other more frightening creatures might also exist. Every once in a while, something will come out of the pond at night during ritual, Maddie explained. But they're not very big. I remember a little snake scared Katie once when it ran over her foot. Things that squirm, Katie started. Like snakes and lizards are bad, Lena finished her sister's thoughts. The two girls nodded in unison. So, Jack, Celeste decided it was time to change the topic. Do you do any chores around the house? We don't get chores because we're not helpful, he said, looking as if he had just been chastised. Maddie and Ryder nodded, eyes cast down. Celeste didn't need to ask where he had heard those words. But do you think you could be helpful? Sure, Jack said. I'm strong. I could help Chimney gather. So could I, but she always says no. It's not fair. Ryder crossed his arms. Celeste would have to watch her words around the children. She asked if any of them could write. Maddie and Ryder were the only ones who remembered learning how to write in school before the event. Here's what we'll do, Celeste said. We're going to write down a big, long list of everything you could do to help the house in the village, okay? Ryder, could you find some paper and something to write with? The boy nodded, and Maddie beckoned Celeste away from the others. I didn't want to say this in front of them, she whispered, but I've heard the overleader has a really scary lizard, like really scary big. What's an overleader? Celeste whispered back. You don't ever want to meet the overleader. She's the one who punishes crimes. I'm never going to do a crime. Fear flashed across Maddie's face. Celeste would have to find out more about this person who put dread into the hearts of the young ones, and about her scary lizard, but not from the frightened young girl. She remembered Orville mentioning one old woman. Thanks for letting me know, she whispered before heading back to the group. Ryder was ready with pencil and paper. By evening, not only had Ryder made a neat list of every person and every helpful thing they thought they could do, but Celeste had each of them practicing the alphabet and working on basic addition skills. It didn't take long for Maddie and Ryder to remember the basics, and they were eager to help their new teacher. Lena closed her eyes and rocked gently back and forth. Uh-oh, Blanche comes. He should be back by now. Her words were a whisper, but the others heard her. Who? Maddie asked. He should be back by now, Blanche spat at Celeste after storming into the room. Maddie and Celeste exchanged a startled glance before looking back at Lena, who was concentrating on drawing her letters. Blanche stood menacingly close to Celeste, who turned away from her and addressed the group. Great job today, everyone. We'll continue tomorrow, and I'll give you your chores. Go ahead and leave your papers on the shelf. And Blanche, she turned toward the angry girl, should they return to their rooms before dinner? Blanche nodded slowly, and the children dispersed. Celeste remembered the change she'd seen in Nick's face when she had willed him to trust her and wondered if it was more than a fluke. Turning to stare into Blanche's squinted eyes, she thought, "You know they'll be back soon, and we will be staying here." She noticed a look of confusion on the older girl's face. "I'll help with dinner," Celeste said aloud. "Oh, and Blanche, I'm sorry about bringing up your brother in our last conversation. It was wrong." Blanche dropped her hands from her hips and glanced around the room before looking back at Celeste. "Thanks," she said. "I'm sure they'll be back soon." That ends chapter 16 of book 1.